Okay, this video is about writing really awesome sentences for the ECA. We're going to be taking the English 10 end of course assessment, and we're going to have to write an essay on it. And it really pays to have really good sentences. And so this video is how to write awesome sentences using a concept that my colleague, Miss Edie Marquesi, taught me. I mean, I taught it in a different way, but now I've kind of melded the two together. But the technique we call it is using AAAWWUBBIS. AAAAWWUBBIS. And AAAAWWUBBIS refers to, it's an acronym for all of these words: after, although, as, when, while, until, because, before, if, and since. And all of these words come from a family of grammar that we call subordinating conjunctions. But there's a lot simpler way to think about how to use AAAWWUBBIS in our writing, and it's basically by using this logic right here. So what you can do is you can start a sentence with an AAAWWUBBIS word, and that scares people because, and it does so because a lot of teachers say you can never start a sentence with because. Well, you actually can, but you have to follow the rules and the logic. So we're going to start with an AAAWWUBBIS word, and then you have to put in a complete sentence right here. And then you put a comma, and the reason we have the comma is there's an interruption. And then you have to follow it up with a complete sentence. So there's a logical structure to it. One of these words, a sentence, and then a comma, and then another independent clause here, one that can stand on its own. So that's kind of like the logic of how it works. This is another way of looking at it. This is like a chart that shows all of the AAAWWUBBIS words and similar ones to it, the subordinated conjunctions chart. But these are all part of AAAWWUBBIS. So our formula for writing sentences is a AAAWWUBBIS word, then a sentence, comma, then another complete sentence to complete the thought. So what I'm going to do is illustrate how the logic works. So I'm going to follow the formula, the pattern, and I'm actually going to commit the sin of all sins, and I'm going to start a sentence with the word because. And it's one of our AAAWWUBBIS words. Because Mr. Bailey teaches English, comma, he has to teach complex sentences. Period. Now, if we look at the formula, what I did is for the formula, I'll do it in blood red here. I put my AAAWWUBBIS word and I started the sentence with because, and then I followed it up with what is essentially a complete sentence if we were to get rid of the word because. So here would be a complete sentence. Mr. Bailey teaches English, period, would actually work by itself. So this is a complete sentence, but as soon as we've added the word because, it's no longer can stand on its own. But that's a different discussion. We did the AAAWWUBBIS word, then a complete sentence, then we followed up with a comma because there's an interruption here, and then we followed it up with another complete sentence. Mr. Bailey has to teach complex sentences. And so because we started the sentence with the word because, and we had a clause here, we had a complete sentence at this point, we had to put a comma, and then we had to finish it with another complete sentence. This by itself, and I'll kind of like highlight the situation. This by itself, if we were to just, because Mr. Bailey teaches English, is not a sentence by itself. And the reason that it isn't is because this particular word right here, this AAAWWUBBIS word, makes it poisonous to stand on its own. But what it does when it's awesome is when you actually use the comma and then you attach it to another complete sentence. So this is why you can start a sentence with because. If you start with an AAAWWUBBIS word, a complete sentence, comma at that point, and then another complete sentence, the formula always works. And it's an awesome thing because, and I'll highlight it here, this is what is called a complex sentence. When you have more than one clause, and when you're writing sentences, awesome sentences that have these AAAWWUBBIS words in this format, it is very easy to understand. So we're following this pattern: AAAWWUBBIS word, sentence, comma, sentence. Another example then, I'll just steal from the list. So I'll do before. we'll do before on the next one. So we go forward and we go to the word before. Before, and now we got to insert a complete sentence. Can't just put a little phrase. Before students come to school, comma, they should eat breakfast. Now we're following a formula here. We've got our AAAWWUBBIS word, and it's this one right here, before, and then we've got a complete sentence. So here's, I'm highlighting in yellow, students come to school, and then I'm going to circle the next part with a different color. We've got the comma right there, and notice we have the interruption right there. Then we have another complete sentence right here, and here's our complete sentence at the end. So here we go, AAAWWUBBIS word, sentence, comma, sentence. That's the formula for writing a good sentence if you start the sentence with an AAAWWUBBIS word. We can do a couple more illustrations here too. So I'll pick another AAAWWUBBIS word. My students get a little angry with me because they get bored, but we'll do although. Although, and here's our AAAWWUBBIS word, Mr. Bailey thinks he is funny, comma, his jokes are terrible. So when we look at the different highlighted sections, here's our AAAWWUBBIS word. Our AAAWWUBBIS word is although, and then we kind of input a complete sentence. So here's the complete sentence. Mr. Bailey thinks he is funny, and then we have ourselves the comma, and we have our comma here, and then we're following the formula one last time, where here's the sentence, his jokes are terrible. The bottom line is if we follow the formula for using an AAAWWUBBIS word to start a sentence, and then we complete the sentence, and then we put a comma, and then we do another complete sentence, it's okay to start sentences with AAAWWUBBIS words as long as we follow this pattern every time. So just to recap, this is the AAAWWUBBIS words: after, although, as, when, while, until, because, before, if, and since. And then these are more examples because there's more than just the AAAWWUBBIS words on the list that work for this. This is the formula: AAAWWUBBIS word, sentence, comma, sentence. It is a complex sentence. And this is yet another example where we started although. You need to write awesome sentences, and awesome sentences on the ECA follow the pattern where you have the AAAWWUBBIS word with a complete sentence next to it. Although as soon as we add the AAAWWUBBIS word, it's not a complete sentence, comma, and then we have to have a sentence that stands on its own afterwards. That is the pattern for AAAWWUBBIS words and the pattern for writing awesome sentences for the ECA. Good luck. Write a complex sentence today using the AAAWWUBBIS technique.